Have you ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, true change often feels out of reach, almost as if life itself were controlled by forces outside of you? For centuries, humanity has been conditioned to believe that destiny is inherited, that peace depends on external order, and that transformation is something granted by circumstance rather than cultivated within. But what if that belief has been the greatest mistake of all? What if the power to reshape not only your day, but your entire life was already within your grasp, waiting to be awakened in the very first moments of the morning? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Think about it. How often do you wake up and immediately feel the weight of yesterday's worries pressing down on you? The mind begins to race. The duties of the day invade your thoughts, and without even realizing it, your first moments are consumed by stress or routine. Has this ever happened to you? Edgar Cayce taught that this is exactly the moment when most people surrender their spiritual sovereignty, when they allow the noise of the outside world to define who they are before they even take their first conscious breath. Yet what if those early moments could be reclaimed? What if they held the secret to reconnecting with the divine power that already flows through you? Real change does not come from rearranging circumstances, Cayce insisted, but from awakening the consciousness. That awakening is not abstract or distant. It begins the very moment your eyes open, when you remember that you are a child of God, an heir to the creative power that sustains the universe itself. Imagine how different your life would feel if, instead of reacting to the demands of the day, you began with a conscious declaration of who you truly are. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The entire trajectory of your day can be redirected in just a few minutes of focused awareness. Consider the contrast. When your first thought in the morning is a complaint, a fear, or a rush of anxiety, that energy becomes the seed planted in your subconscious, silently shaping everything that follows. But when that first thought is consecrated to the recognition of God's presence within you, everything shifts. The vibration of your inner world changes, and the outer world, like a mirror, responds in kind. Have you noticed how a single word of encouragement can lift your spirit, or how one spark can ignite a great fire? In the same way, even a short moment of alignment can carry enough force to redirect your entire day. Edgar Cayce compared these moments of awakening to reclaiming sovereignty over your own soul. Before the noise of the world has the chance to impose its definitions, before anyone tells you what you lack or what you should fear, you take back the reins of your consciousness. You decree light before confusion has the chance to settle in. You affirm your identity before external labels try to define you. And you do all this not with hours of ritual, but with a few minutes of pure, undistracted intention. What you're about to learn is not another passing technique or superficial trick for temporary relief. It is a timeless truth. Thought is the invisible cause of everything visible, and the first thought of your day has the power to set in motion a chain of creation that will echo throughout every hour that follows. If you can grasp this, if you can claim those sacred first moments after waking, you will begin to experience what Cayce called the true inner reprogramming of life itself. Stay with me, because in just a moment we'll uncover how this daily awakening works in practice, and how those first breaths of the morning, when used with divine awareness, can become the most powerful minutes of your day. If you find this message meaningful and want to keep diving deeper into these kinds of reflections, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll always have access to content designed to inspire, guide, and transform the way you see each day. Thought is not just a fleeting whisper inside your head. It is the hidden engine behind everything you see, touch, and experience. Edgar Cayce described it as the invisible cause of all visible results, and when you pause to reflect on that, it changes the entire way you look at life. Every decision, every action, every circumstance unfolding around you has its roots in a thought that once existed silently within the mind. That is why the early moments of the day are so critical. They are not trivial pauses between sleep and routine. They are the backstage of your destiny, the behind-the-scenes script from which your entire day will be directed. Imagine waking up and, before even realizing it, repeating the same thought patterns you carried yesterday. Stress about work, worries about money, fears about relationships. These thoughts replay like a loop, and without conscious awareness, they program the subconscious mind to expect more of the same. Cayce's insight was that transformation begins when you break this cycle deliberately. 7 minutes may seem insignificant, but within that small space lies the power to redirect everything. Those first moments of the morning are like fertile soil. Whatever you plant there, whether it's fear or faith, will grow into the fruit you carry throughout the day. When you wake and immediately reclaim your spiritual direction, you prevent the outside world from dictating who you are. The news, social media, conversations, and obligations all rush in to tell you what to think and how to feel. But with a focused practice, you step into sovereignty. You declare before anything else that you are more than circumstances, more than external definitions. You are connected to the source of divine power itself. This is not about philosophy or ritual for its own sake. It is about consciously deciding which vibration will dominate your being before the noise begins. Think of it this way. A spark by itself is small, almost invisible, but placed in the right conditions, that spark ignites a flame, and that flame becomes a fire capable of illuminating everything around it. In the same way, 7 minutes of deliberate intention create a spark in your consciousness. That spark ignites a new pattern of thought, and that new pattern reprograms the subconscious in a way that changes the outcome of your day. The impact may seem subtle at first, but little by little, the atmosphere of your life shifts. Relationships feel lighter, opportunities appear where there were once closed doors, and even your health reflects the renewed state of mind. There is a hidden truth here that many overlook. The subconscious is most open and malleable in that fragile threshold between sleep and wakefulness. During those minutes, the barriers of logic and defense are lowered, and impressions go directly into the core of your being. If you fill that moment with anxiety or negativity, your day takes on that flavor without you even noticing. But if you consecrate that time with thoughts of light, gratitude, and divine recognition, you are literally imprinting the design of a better reality into the fabric of your mind. This is why Cayce emphasized the discipline of daily thought. It is not abstract, it is precise, like planting seeds in fertile ground. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding this principle is only the beginning. The true transformation happens when you put it into practice. Each breath, each word you allow to form inside you in those first minutes, is a decree shaping your journey. This is not about forcing yourself into positivity, but aligning yourself with a deeper truth that has always been there. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the one shaping how the world meets you. And when this becomes your mindset, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the smallest decision holds the potential for revelation. Write in the comments, "I'm also on this path," if this resonates with you, because those 7 minutes might be the most important choice you ever make each day. Awakening is not just the act of opening your eyes after a night of rest. True awakening, as Edgar Cayce revealed, is the release from ignorance, fear, and the heavy illusions that quietly dominate the mind. Sleep refreshes the body, but how many people rise still burdened by shadows from yesterday, carrying resentment, doubt, or anxiety into a new day? That is not awakening. It is simply moving from one state of unconsciousness to another. Real awakening is remembering, in those fragile first moments, that the presence of the divine has never left you. It is a return to communion with what is eternal, what knows you more deeply than you know yourself. When you recognize this presence at the very start of the day, you activate something extraordinary. Those 7 minutes are not just a practice, they are a portal. They are a seed, small yet filled with infinite potential, silently germinating in the soil of your consciousness. And like any seed, they don't need immediate proof to be real. You don't plant a seed today and demand fruit tomorrow. Instead, you trust the hidden process, the unseen growth beneath the surface. That is exactly what happens in the soul. When you give those minutes with sincerity, order begins to replace chaos, clarity begins to dissolve confusion, and peace begins to take the place of inner noise. The hidden truth is that the very first thought of the day is like a decree. It directs the flow of energy that will sustain you, shaping the lens through which you will interpret everything. Imagine it as the backstage moment before a great performance. What you whisper there sets the tone for the entire act. The interval between sleep and wakefulness is more than a biological shift. It is a sacred threshold. In that space, the conscious and the subconscious stand side by side without conflict. One is alert, but not yet flooded with external distractions, and the other is still open, soft, receptive to suggestion. That is why it is the perfect moment for reprogramming. Most people never realize how powerful this window is. They wake with a sigh, a complaint, or a rush of urgency, and in doing so they hand over their creative authority to old patterns. But if you choose differently, if you pause in that interval and plant thoughts of light, gratitude, and divine recognition, you are not just preparing for a better day, you are setting the stage for a different life. This is mindset in its purest form, because you are consciously deciding how the hidden mechanisms of your inner world will respond and create. Every external transformation you desire begins here, not in chance events or external validation, but in this behind-the-scenes decision of what you will allow to take root in your subconscious. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the subtlety of this interval is often overlooked. It is so brief that it feels insignificant, almost invisible, but it is precisely in that hidden place where the most impactful revelations occur. Think of tuning a delicate instrument. The adjustment might be almost imperceptible, but it determines the entire harmony that follows. In the same way, the thought you choose in that moment resonates through every choice, every encounter, every response you will have that day. It is not about controlling circumstances, but about aligning the vibration of your soul with the order of the divine. This is the power of the 7 minutes. They are not meant to be dramatic or complicated. They are quiet, subtle, but their effect is profound. They work in silence, just as seeds work in the dark earth, just as transformation unfolds behind the scenes, long before it becomes visible. When you practice them, you are not asking life to change. You are changing the lens through which life is perceived. And from that new lens, peace, clarity, and strength begin to emerge naturally, without force. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me," if you feel the truth of reclaiming those first moments, because this simple act is the foundation on which everything else in your journey can be built. That delicate threshold between sleep and wakefulness is like standing at the doorway of creation itself. It may last only a few seconds, but its power is far greater than most realize. In that short span, your mind is soft, unguarded, open to suggestion in a way it will not be again for the rest of the day. And here lies the hidden truth. You can rewrite the entire script of your day with just a single intentional thought. One decision of focus, one inner declaration, can alter the flow of everything that follows. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is the mechanics of consciousness working behind the scenes. Edgar Cayce emphasized that spiritual logic does not measure value in hours or repetitions. It is not about how long you pray, how many words you speak, or how many rituals you perform. It is about quality over quantity. 7 minutes of aligned, undistracted thought can have more impact than hours spent with a scattered mind. Think of a laser beam. It carries more power than 1,000 scattered rays of light because it is concentrated. Your thoughts work in exactly the same way. The mind that focuses deliberately, even briefly, becomes a channel through which divine order flows with clarity and strength. The subconscious is like fertile ground, waiting for seeds. At dawn, it is especially receptive, highly suggestible, ready to absorb whatever is placed within it. This is why the first thought of the day is not something casual. If you plant fear, it grows into anxiety that colors every experience. If you plant gratitude, it blossoms into a peaceful energy that permeates your decisions, interactions, and even your physical vitality. The impact is not symbolic. It is real. It shapes the frequency you carry, and that frequency draws to you experiences that match its vibration. Consider how often people sabotage their own journey without realizing it. They wake up, check their phone, read some piece of disturbing news or a stressful message, and within minutes they have already surrendered their internal state to chaos. From that moment forward, the day feels heavy, reactive, and out of control. But when you deliberately claim those early minutes, when you say with conviction, "I choose light, I choose peace, I choose the presence of God within me," you are not ignoring reality. You are creating it. You are choosing the lens through which you will interpret everything that follows, and that decision has consequences far greater than most people imagine. This is the behind-the-scenes work of transformation. It is not glamorous, no one else sees it, but it is here where destiny is shaped. Every revelation, every change, every breakthrough begins in that hidden place where thought meets the subconscious and takes root. And because this process is invisible, many underestimate its impact. They look for results in the external world without realizing that the external is simply the harvest of what was planted internally. Cayce's insight was that if you consistently plant thoughts of divine recognition and gratitude in that fertile window, the subconscious will reprogram itself to expect and attract alignment with those truths. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you understand the power of this threshold, you begin to see how subtle shifts in mindset create massive shifts in experience. It is not about forcing change from the outside, but guiding the inner soil so that the outer world naturally adjusts. Imagine how much lighter life becomes when you no longer react from fear, but respond from a place of peace already rooted within you. The shift may begin in silence, but its echoes shape your relationships, your work, your creativity, and even your health. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me," if you recognize how one single thought at dawn has the power to reshape the entire journey of your day. The very first thought you allow to take shape each morning is not just a passing idea, it is a sacred seed. Edgar Cayce described it as the spark that sets divine order in motion. And when you consecrate that thought to God, something invisible yet immediate begins to unfold. It is almost as if the whole of creation pauses for a moment to take note of the decree your soul has just released. That thought becomes a vibration, and that vibration begins to manifest in ways you may not recognize at first glance. But its impact carries through every interaction, every decision, and every hidden detail of your day. Think of it as tuning into a frequency. Much like an old radio, the sound is filled with static until the dial lands precisely where it needs to be. The music was always there, the signal always existed, but until the alignment occurred, all you heard was noise. Your mind works in exactly the same way. When you wake and drift toward fear, worry, or distraction, the static of life drowns out your ability to hear the deeper truth. But when you take a breath, center yourself, and choose a thought of trust, peace, or recognition of the divine within you, you suddenly align with a frequency that has been present all along. It is not about creating something new, it is about tuning in to what has always been available. This alignment is delicate yet powerful. It doesn't require shouting affirmations or hours of repetition. It requires precision, the kind of subtle awareness that places you exactly where spirit and mind converge. And here is the hidden truth. Once you align, the entire field of your day rearranges itself to mirror that vibration. Encounters shift, circumstances take on new meaning, even challenges are reframed as opportunities. Alignment doesn't eliminate the world's noise, it makes you capable of navigating it with clarity. Cayce connected this practice to the symbolism of the number 7, a number woven throughout Scripture as a sign of completeness and divine order. 7 days of creation, 7 trumpets, 7 spirits before the throne. Each minute of this morning practice is like one of those steps in creation, not isolated, but part of a greater harmony. Imagine these minutes as instruments in a symphony. Each has its role, its sound, its vibration, and when they are played together with intention, they form a whole far greater than the sum of the parts. That is why the 7 minutes are not random. They are a complete architecture of reprogramming, a full composition designed to reset your inner world. When you see it this way, the idea of spending just 7 minutes no longer feels small or insignificant. It feels profound, like stepping into a sacred ritual designed for transformation. This is not about following rigid rituals for their own sake, but about realizing that your soul responds to rhythm, to order, to completeness. Every morning becomes a stage on which you are both the musician and the instrument, aligning your frequency to the divine symphony already playing beneath the surface of life. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way you approach those minutes can change everything. If you treat them as a mechanical duty, the vibration is lost. But if you enter them with awareness, with reverence for their hidden potential, the mindset you carry begins to shift in ways you cannot fully predict. What begins as a quiet choice behind the scenes soon reveals itself as a transformation in how you experience the visible world. It is here that revelations occur, not in the noise of daily demands, but in the subtle alignment of your first thoughts with the eternal frequency of the divine. Write in the comments, "I'm also on this path," if you understand the sacred weight of the first thought and how alignment sets the tone for everything that follows. The number 7 has always carried with it a sense of mystery, a vibration that seems to echo through history, spirituality, and even the hidden structures of nature. From the 7 days of creation to the 7 seals of revelation, it symbolizes fullness, the completion of a cycle, the wholeness of divine order manifesting in time and space. Edgar Cayce often reminded us that symbols are not just poetic ornaments, they are revelations of how the universe itself is built. To step into the rhythm of 7 minutes each morning is to align yourself with that eternal pattern of creation, to place your own consciousness in harmony with a frequency that governs the unfolding of life itself. And yet the beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. A single minute, fully lived in truth, carries the power to dissolve mountains of error. This is not exaggeration, but the reality of what happens when the soul focuses with intensity and presence. Most people underestimate the weight of one clear, unwavering thought. They believe change requires long hours of effort, endless repetition, or dramatic displays of faith. But Cayce's insight was radically different. It is not duration that transforms, but depth. A single moment of alignment, pure and undistracted, can create a shift that hours of distracted striving could never achieve. Imagine standing in darkness and lighting a single candle. Suddenly the entire room changes. That is the impact of one focused minute consecrated to divine truth. These 7 minutes are therefore not improvisation, not a routine to be checked off a list, but an inner architecture, a sacred design revealed through spiritual practice, crafted to reprogram the soul and bring the scattered parts of life into order. Architecture is not random. Every stone, every measure, every line has intention and purpose. In the same way, each of these minutes fulfills a spiritual function, layering upon the next until a temple of consciousness is built within you. It is a hidden construction site behind the scenes of your daily existence, where the blueprint of your inner life is drawn and redrawn until it reflects the image of divine order. What makes this architecture so profound is that it does not depend on external circumstances. It cannot be taken away by the noise of the world, the opinions of others, or the unpredictability of events. It is a structure built within, in the place where your mindset, your choices, and your awareness converge. And just like a physical building reshapes the landscape around it, this inner temple reshapes the way you walk through life. It strengthens your decisions, clarifies your vision, and lifts your perception out of fear and into revelation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the architecture is only the beginning. What matters most is how you inhabit it, how you move through those sacred minutes with awareness instead of distraction. Too often, people approach their mornings mechanically, repeating words or thoughts without the fire of intention. But the hidden truth is that these minutes demand presence. They are a call to step fully into your divine identity, to allow your soul to engage with precision rather than passivity. Each minute becomes a doorway, and each doorway leads you deeper into the mystery of communion with God. Think of the impact this can have on your journey. When you begin to treat these 7 minutes as the most valuable real estate of your consciousness, you realize that they shape everything else that follows. They are the foundation beneath your emotions, the silent influence guiding your reactions, the force behind the choices you make throughout the day. Transformation does not come by accident. It comes by aligning with hidden laws that have always governed the flow of life. And Cayce's revelation was clear. When you give yourself to this practice, you enter into those laws consciously, directing them rather than being carried along unconsciously. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me," if you can feel the weight of how one focused minute, multiplied in harmony across 7, becomes the architecture of a new way of living. The moment of waking is far more than the simple act of opening your eyes. It is a threshold, a tender soil still untouched by the noise of the world, and whatever you choose to plant there will grow in silence throughout the day. Edgar Cayce described it as the most fertile ground of consciousness, where intention sinks deep without resistance. Most people waste this precious instant by sowing seeds of worry or distraction, and those seeds later become the weeds of stress, fatigue, or conflict. But when you choose carefully, when you plant thoughts of peace, gratitude, and divine remembrance, you are shaping the hidden architecture of your day before the outer world has the chance to impose itself. This is why the 7 minutes are not symbolic. They are a sacred operation on the mind. Like a gardener pruning branches so new growth can flourish, this practice cleanses what no longer serves, seals the soul in truth, and directs the subconscious toward alignment. It is not repetition for repetition's sake, but an intentional surgery of thought, cutting away what is false and strengthening what is real. Every morning becomes an intimate behind-the-scenes moment where the old is removed and the new is planted with precision. And the impact of this hidden practice is immense, because what happens in the invisible depths of the mind inevitably unfolds in visible form. Changing destiny begins with changing the very first thought. We often imagine destiny as something distant, something shaped by grand decisions or dramatic events. But Cayce's revelation points to something more subtle. The power to alter the trajectory of your life is hidden in the smallest of beginnings. When your first thought is fear, the day bends under its weight. When your first thought is remembrance, that you are a child of God, connected to the source of creation itself, then the day rises in light. Problems do not magically disappear, but they lose their power to dominate. They shrink in scale when faced with the awareness that you are not defined by circumstances, but by the eternal presence dwelling within you. This shift in mindset transforms more than mood. It transforms perception, and perception is the lens through which every choice, every reaction, every opportunity is filtered. Imagine how differently you respond to challenges when your first step is rooted in divine assurance instead of anxiety. The obstacle may be the same, but the energy you bring to it is entirely new. What once felt insurmountable becomes manageable. What once threatened to overwhelm now appears as an invitation for growth. This is the hidden truth. By shaping the first thought, you are not just preparing yourself for the day, you are shaping the destiny hidden within the day itself. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because it is not only about planting seeds of truth, but also about protecting them as they begin to grow. The mind, like a field, is constantly exposed to influences, conversations, news, responsibilities, distractions. Without vigilance, the weeds of fear and negativity try to creep back in. That is why the sacred operation of the 7 minutes includes not just planting, but also sealing. When you consecrate those first thoughts to God, you are placing a kind of spiritual boundary around them, ensuring that they carry strength as the hours unfold. This hidden practice is not fragile, it is resilient, and it gives you resilience. The journey of transformation is not about escaping problems, but meeting them from a new center. And when that center is built in the stillness of the morning, anchored in divine truth, you carry a quiet authority throughout the day. It is like walking with an inner compass that always points you back to alignment, no matter what storms arise. That is why Cayce called these moments a return to communion with the divine presence. They are not about escaping reality, but about stepping into it differently, armed with clarity, peace, and assurance. Write in the comments, "I choose my first thought," if you understand how destiny begins in that sacred instant when the soil of the mind is most open and ready to receive. The 7 minutes are not a luxury, nor a vague recommendation, but a spiritual inheritance waiting to be claimed each morning. Think of them as a staff placed gently in your hands, a shepherd's staff guiding your journey before the demands of the world can scatter your focus. With it, you are reminded that you do not walk into the day unprepared or unprotected. You walk with Christ's presence, directing every step. There is something profoundly grounding in this realization, because it shifts your mindset from one of survival to one of guidance. You are not wandering in uncertainty. You are being led by an invisible order that always knows the way. Daily consecration is what activates this inheritance. It doesn't need to be grand or complicated. Often it begins with nothing more than a whisper of prayer, a breath offered in awareness, a thought surrendered to light. In that act, you dedicate your entire being to divine order. Breath is no longer just air. It becomes the rhythm of spirit flowing through you. Thought is no longer random. It becomes aligned intention. Action is no longer rushed reaction. It becomes a reflection of the presence within you. When you consecrate the day at its beginning, it is as if you open a window to let light flood a darkened room. Everything else that follows carries the imprint of that initial illumination. But for that light to truly take root, preparation must come first. Just as a farmer would never scatter seeds on hard, stony ground, you cannot expect divine impressions to flourish in a mind still cluttered with the residue of yesterday. The night often stirs hidden emotions, unresolved fears, or lingering worries. These fragments remain like shadows in the subconscious, and if they are not released, they become the unspoken background to your day. This is why cleansing is essential. It is not about pretending those emotions never existed. It is about deliberately choosing not to carry them forward. Imagine the farmer clearing stones, removing weeds, softening the soil with care and patience. The act may seem tedious, but it is what ensures the seed will grow. In the same way, when you awaken and release the residue of the night, through a conscious breath, a mental declaration, or a simple inward surrender, you prepare the inner soil for transformation. This act of clearing is not small. It is the hidden truth behind lasting peace. Without it, even the most powerful affirmations are like seeds cast on cement. But with it, every thought of light and every prayer of gratitude finds a fertile place to root and flourish. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because this process of cleansing holds within it a profound revelation about how transformation truly works. It teaches us that growth is not only about what we add, but about what we release. So many people approach their journey thinking they must accumulate more techniques, more rituals, more knowledge. Yet the real impact often comes from subtraction, from letting go of the clutter that blocks clarity. Behind the scenes, the soul does not need to be filled as much as it needs to be cleared. Once the unnecessary is removed, the essential truth of who you are has space to emerge naturally. This is where the practice becomes deeply personal. Each morning you are given a choice, to carry the past into the present or to release it and step into a new beginning. The mindset you choose in those fragile minutes will decide whether your day is a repetition of yesterday or a fresh creation. When you cleanse with intention, you step into the hidden rhythm of renewal, the same rhythm that governs nature itself. The old falls away, and the new is born, not through force, but through alignment with the divine order that is already at work within you. Write in the comments, "I choose to begin clean," if you understand how this inner clearing is the foundation for every seed of light you want to plant in your day. When the soul awakens, it does not always rise in perfect clarity. Often it carries the weight of the night, traces of dreams, or the echo of emotions left unresolved. Fear, anger, or stress that went unspoken during the day can linger in the hidden layers of the subconscious, only to surface again as soon as you open your eyes. It is why so many begin the morning already feeling heavy, as though yesterday never truly ended. This is not failure. It is simply a reminder that the inner world does not reset automatically. It waits for you to make a decision, to consciously choose whether you will drag those emotions forward or release them so the day can begin new. The hidden truth is that awakening is not meant to be abrupt or violent. The Christ within does not stir with alarm bells, deadlines, or the noise of urgency. It awakens gently, in the soft silence of recognition. It is not about forcing yourself to feel light. It is about acknowledging that God's presence is already here, already alive in the rhythm of your breath, already surrounding you in ways the mind cannot fully measure. This recognition is not dramatic. It is intimate, quiet, and deeply personal. A simple inward turning of attention is enough to remind you that you are not alone, that your first moments do not belong to chaos, but to communion. Practical release begins in the heart, for it is there that residue clings most stubbornly. The mind may forget a dream, but the heart remembers its unease. That is why the first act of cleansing is to center awareness in the chest, not as a physical exercise, but as a spiritual acknowledgement of where your deepest truth resides. From that place, you can declare with clarity, "I release all that is not from God." These words are not an escape. They are an affirmation of sovereignty. They are a way of reclaiming the authority to decide which energies belong in your soul and which must be dissolved like mist in the rising sun. When spoken with intention, such a declaration acts like a key. It unlocks the grip of old emotions, loosens the shadows of the night, and creates space for something higher to enter. Release is not about denial, but about transformation. What once weighed heavily on you is not ignored. It is transmuted into light because you have chosen to let it go. The impact of this act is immediate, even if subtle. The atmosphere within shifts. Breathing deepens. A sense of space appears where there was once pressure. In that space, the divine presence can be felt more clearly, and the soul becomes receptive to the hidden order waiting to shape the day ahead. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the practice of release reveals something profound about how the journey of transformation actually unfolds. 2. Often we think progress is about adding layers, more affirmations, more rituals, more striving, but in truth, much of the path is about subtraction. It is about letting go of the burdens that obscure who you already are. The Christ presence within does not need to be created, it needs to be uncovered. Release is the chisel that removes the excess stone so that the sculpture hidden inside can be revealed. This understanding changes the way you approach your mornings. Instead of rushing to fix yourself, you begin by making space. Instead of struggling to build a new self, you uncover the one that has always been connected to God. That simple mindset shift transforms the act of waking from a routine into a sacred passage. You rise not with yesterday's shadows, but with a fresh awareness that your destiny is shaped by what you choose to carry forward and what you courageously release. Write in the comments, "I release what is not mine," if you understand how letting go at the very beginning of the day clears the way for divine presence to guide everything that follows. Breath has always been taken for granted as something purely physical, a reflex of survival. But Cayce revealed a hidden truth that changes everything. Breath is more than oxygen. It is divine life moving through you. Every inhalation is a reminder that you are sustained not just by air, but by the very essence of spirit. To breathe consciously in those first minutes of the day is to reorient the soul, to bring its rhythm back into alignment with truth. Instead of rushing into tasks or allowing thoughts to scatter, you pause and recognize that each breath is sacred. Each breath is a declaration that life itself is flowing through you with purpose. When you breathe with awareness, you are not just filling your lungs, you are tuning your vibration to the frequency of divine order, beginning the day not as a body reacting to the world, but as a soul attuned to the source. This awareness naturally leads to a deeper understanding of hygiene, not only for the body, but for the mind. We all know the importance of physical cleanliness, of washing hands, of eating from a clean plate, of clearing dust and dirt from our homes. Yet how often do we neglect mental hygiene, carrying forward residues of yesterday's clutter without even noticing? Just as no one would prepare a meal on a dish covered in grease, you should not begin your day with a mind still coated in the debris of old emotions and thoughts. Mental hygiene is a discipline, a conscious choice to cleanse the inner space where all creation begins. Without it, Even the most powerful affirmations lose their clarity, because they are layered on top of confusion. With it, every new thought is received in purity. Every seed has fertile soil in which to grow. Cleansing is more than a symbolic act. It is the foundation that prevents life from collapsing into cycles of repetition. Without release, without cleansing, each day becomes a copy of the past, a script replayed endlessly with different scenery, but the same emotions, the same frustrations, the same fears. It is why people feel trapped, as if they are living the same problems over and over again. But when you cleanse consciously, through breath, through declaration, through recognition of the presence within, you break the cycle. You reset the pattern. Suddenly, the day does not have to imitate what came before. It becomes an open field where something new can be planted. This is the hidden impact of the morning practice. It does not just prepare you for the day, it liberates you from the weight of yesterday. Each breath becomes a choice. Each moment of awareness becomes a doorway into transformation. The simple act of cleansing prevents your mind from being imprisoned by the familiar. It allows you to step out of the endless loop and walk instead into the unfolding of something truly new. And the beauty of it is that this newness is not created by force. It emerges naturally when you refuse to carry forward what no longer serves you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the connection between breath, cleansing, and the prevention of repetition is far more than a morning exercise. It is a philosophy of living. It reminds you that destiny is not shaped in dramatic decisions alone, but in the hidden choices you make behind the scenes of your consciousness. When you breathe with awareness, when you cleanse your thoughts with intention, you are not only preparing for one day, you are altering the trajectory of your journey. The subconscious ceases to recycle old scripts and begins to respond to a higher direction. You stop being a prisoner of memory and become the author of a new pattern of life. Write in the comments, "I choose a new pattern," if you recognize how breath and cleansing free you from repeating the past and open the path to transformation. Each morning is more than just the continuation of time. It is a birth. Awakening is not a mechanical return to consciousness, but a spiritual rebirth, a fresh entrance into the world of form with the chance to begin again. This is why the ancients treated dawn with reverence, recognizing it as a threshold moment charged with possibility. Edgar Cayce echoed this truth when he described awakening as an opportunity to reset not only the body, but the entire vibration of the soul. And like every birth, it requires deliberate preparation. Without it, you stumble into the day still carrying yesterday's fragments, repeating old patterns without realizing you are trapped in them. With it, you step into the day like a new creation, aligned with something far greater than habit. The very first minute of these sacred 7 is devoted to awakening to the divine presence. Before words, before movement, before the mind fully reassembles itself, the breath is there. Breath is the sacred bridge, the quiet proof that God has given you another day, another chance. It links the visible and the invisible, the body and the spirit, the individual and the source. Every inhale carries the reminder that life is not your possession, but a gift constantly renewed. Every exhale is a surrender, a release of control, a letting go into trust. When you engage with your breath consciously, you realize it is more than biology. It is communion. It is the Spirit breathing life anew through you. This is why the name of God is not confined to language or text, but is woven into the very rhythm of breathing itself. The ancient rendering of YHWH is not truly spoken because it carries no vowels. It is expressed through inhalation and exhalation, as if the act of living were itself a prayer. To inhale is to whisper the first half of the name. To exhale is to complete it. Without uttering a sound, you are already invoking the divine presence with every cycle of breath. This revelation is profound because it means you are never separate from God. You are speaking His name. Simply by existing, even in silence, even in stillness, every breath is a liturgy written into the body, a hidden truth repeating itself without pause. When you realize this, the first minute of the practice takes on extraordinary weight. You are not just breathing, you are remembering. You are not just filling your lungs, You are aligning yourself with the very source of creation. This awareness shifts the entire mindset of the day. The trivial loses its grip, the urgent feels less oppressive, and what truly matters comes forward with clarity. The presence of God is no longer something you hope to find later, after prayer or meditation. It is already there, in the breath that began before you opened your eyes. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the act of breathing consciously in those first moments is not only a spiritual recognition, but also a practical transformation. It recalibrates the nervous system, softens the residue of fear, and anchors you in calm before the challenges of the day even arise. Behind the scenes, it is teaching your mind and body a new pattern, to meet the world not with reactivity, but with remembrance. And this remembrance is the foundation on which the rest of the 7 minutes are built. Without it, everything else risks becoming mechanical. With it, every following step resonates with authenticity. Write in the comments, every breath is sacred, if you can feel how the simple act of inhaling and exhaling is already a prayer, a direct communion with the presence that sustains you. When you breathe with awareness and let the words "I am" resonate inwardly, you are doing far more than repeating a phrase. You are sealing your identity as a child of God with every breath. Each inhale becomes a declaration of existence, each exhale a confirmation of belonging. The "I am" is not a mental construct. It is the core truth of your being, the hidden foundation that no circumstance can alter. It is as though the breath itself is whispering back to you, reminding you of who you really are before the world can tell you who to be. This subtle yet profound act is what Cayce pointed to when he taught that consciousness shapes reality. By aligning breath and identity, you enter into a vibration where divine truth is not just believed but embodied. And this is why the very first experience of the day must be one of divine union. Not concepts, not abstract ideas, not a recitation of words without presence, but a living awareness that God is breathing through you. In that sacred instant, you realize that prayer is not something you do, but something you are. Your existence itself becomes the prayer. The divine breath is the constant reminder that you are sustained by something beyond human strength, beyond human thought. This awareness transforms the way you step into the day. You are no longer simply reacting to demands or anxieties. You are moving as someone who has already touched eternity before their feet touch the ground. When practiced with sincerity, this first minute turns into a sacred altar, invisible yet undeniable. You don't need a physical temple or elaborate ritual, because your own breath becomes the temple, your body becomes the sanctuary, and your soul becomes the offering. Every inhale is like a silent invitation, every exhale like a surrender into trust. There is a beauty in realizing that you carry this altar everywhere, that divine communion does not depend on location or circumstance. The hidden truth is that this altar was never absent. It was simply waiting for your awareness to light its flame again each morning. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you understand that every breath can be communion, you begin to realize the immense impact this has on your entire mindset. It changes how you view challenges, how you frame decisions, how you carry yourself through the unseen corners of the day. Instead of beginning with stress or distraction, you begin from alignment, and that alignment ripples outward like unseen waves. This is the transformation that Cayce pointed toward. Not a dramatic external event, but the quiet reordering of the soul that changes everything behind the scenes. To live like this is to remember that spirituality is not confined to moments of prayer, but is interwoven with the rhythm of life itself. It is not something you leave behind once you step out of bed. It follows you, breath by breath, decision by decision. The altar does not close when the first minute ends. It remains open, steady, and alive within you, waiting for you to return to it throughout the day. This is the revelation hidden in the practice. Once you experience union at the start of your day, you carry the certainty that union is always possible no matter where you are or what you face. Write in the comments, "My breath is my altar," if you feel the depth of how inhaling and exhaling with awareness transforms the ordinary act of waking into communion with the divine presence. The second minute takes you into the realm of vision, where the mind ceases to wander aimlessly and begins to create with intention. Visualization is not about escaping reality, but about shaping it, planting the seeds of what will grow in the hours to come. To visualize your perfect day is to step into it ahead of time, seeing its completion before it begins. You picture harmony in your conversations, peace in your decisions, clarity in your actions, and even the divine surprises that remind you of God's presence at work, in ways beyond your calculation. This is not fantasy. It is alignment. It is the conscious choice to set the vibration of the day before circumstances try to dictate it for you. What makes this practice powerful is not only the picture you hold in your mind, but the feeling that flows with it. When you visualize blessings beyond expectation, you are stepping into a hidden truth, that spirit does not operate on the narrow lines of human logic. By affirming that something wonderful will unfold, you open space for the extraordinary to enter. It may come as a kind word from a stranger, a door of opportunity you did not anticipate, or a moment of unexpected clarity that changes your perspective. The form does not matter. The essence does. This mindset shifts you from waiting for life to happen to you, to walking as someone who already trusts that life, guided by Spirit, is conspiring in your favor. True prayer, as Jesus taught, does not beg or hope timidly. It affirms as already fulfilled. Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Notice the language. Not that it will be given someday, but that it has already been received. To pray in this way is to recognize that the blueprint of your desire already exists in spirit, and your role is simply to align with it until it takes form. When you visualize the day as completed, filled with peace and accomplishment, you are not indulging in illusion. You are declaring alignment with a reality that has already been birthed in the unseen. This is the hidden mechanism behind manifestation. Your subconscious does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you physically experience. When you carry the image of harmony, it shapes the lens through which you interpret reality, and your decisions naturally flow in ways that make the image real. Visualization, then, is not about control. It is about cooperation with divine law. You are not forcing life into a pattern. You are recognizing the pattern that Spirit has already woven and choosing to walk in harmony with it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the act of visualizing is not just spiritual, it is also deeply practical. Behind the scenes, your mindset dictates the quality of your choices, the tone of your interactions, and the energy you carry into every environment. A person who visualizes peace walks differently, speaks differently, and attracts responses aligned with that peace. A person who holds the conviction that blessings are already unfolding is more open, more receptive, and more willing to recognize opportunities when they appear. Visualization is not daydreaming. It is training your inner world so that your outer world bends toward the order you have already embraced within. Write in the comments, "I see my day complete," if you understand how visualizing harmony and divine surprises is not fantasy, but a declaration that your reality is already aligned with Spirit. Your vision is not a fleeting picture. It becomes the hidden architecture of your entire day. The subconscious, like a skilled builder, does not question the design. It simply follows the blueprint it has been given. And in those early moments of awakening, when the defenses of the mind are still soft, the images you plant descend directly into that fertile ground. Whether it is fear, doubt, or peace and harmony, the subconscious accepts it all as instruction. That is why the vision you hold at the start is not just imagination. It is the silent contract that determines the quality of your decisions, the flow of your interactions, and the unseen connections that shape what unfolds. Think of the subconscious as the backstage crew of your life's performance. It operates behind the scenes, arranging details, guiding impulses, shaping what feels like coincidence but is really the echo of what you chose to believe. When you give it a vision charged with peace, clarity, and divine alignment, it begins to weave your day accordingly. Even the challenges you meet carry within them a different tone, because you already framed them through the lens of harmony. You are not simply reacting to life. You are walking through a script your soul has helped write. But vision alone must be sealed, and the seal is gratitude. Gratitude transforms a possibility into a certainty. It is the hidden truth that tells your subconscious the work is already complete. When you thank God for the perfect unfolding of your day, you shift from hoping to knowing, from waiting to receiving. Gratitude is not passive. It is active agreement with divine wisdom, an acknowledgement that the blueprint has already been signed by the higher order that governs all things. In this way, gratitude is not only the fruit of blessings, but the very seed that ensures their manifestation. This is why Cayce's insights carried so much impact. He understood that gratitude is not about waiting for proof, but about recognizing the invisible order already at play. To begin the day with thanks is to step into alignment with Spirit's design, to declare that your life is not random but guided, not accidental but intentional. Gratitude is the final brushstroke that completes the vision and hands it over to the unseen laws of creation. Without it, the image remains fragile, exposed to doubt. With it, the vision is sealed, like wax pressed onto a letter, ensuring its delivery to the depths of the subconscious where it cannot be erased. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because this practice of sealing with gratitude is more than a spiritual exercise. It is a radical shift in mindset. It challenges the habit of waiting for external confirmation before feeling thankful. It dares you to live as though the blessing is already here, as though the transformation is already real. This mindset alters not only the energy you project, but the opportunities you are able to recognize. Gratitude clears the fog of doubt and reveals the pathways Spirit has already prepared for you. It opens your awareness to divine surprises, those moments that appear unplanned but are in fact the natural outworking of the vision you affirmed. Write in the comments, "My vision is sealed with gratitude," if you understand how Thanksgiving transforms your day from uncertain possibility into a divine design already unfolding. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, it tells me something. This message resonated with you on a deeper level, so let's keep this connection alive. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the kind of insights and practices that can truly transform the way you move through life each day. And since you made it here to the very end, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm with you until the end." I'd love to see how many of us are walking this path together. If what we explored today spoke to you, tap the like button. It's a simple way of saying, "Yes, this matters to me." And before you go, don't stop here. There's a video right here that complements this topic beautifully. Click and continue with me over there. We'll keep unfolding the journey together.